You know, a lot of older folks quietly wonder if it's still okay to take care of themselves in that way, to enjoy touch, to feel pleasure, even to explore what's changed in their body. Some are a little nervous to ask, others just assume, say it's not for them anymore. But here's the truth, as it's not only okay, it can be good for your health, your sleep, your mood, and your confidence. And it's never too late to learn how to do it in a way that feels right for where you are now. Let's start with something simple and surprisingly common. A lot of older men don't realize they're using too much pressure when they touch themselves. It's not intentional, it's just how they learned when they were younger, and that habit sticks. But as we age, our skin gets thinner, nerves more sensitive, and blood vessels a bit more fragile. Too much pressure can lead to soreness, small injuries, even numbness over time. And none of that helps your confidence. I remember a man named Tom, 68, divorced, living in a small town in Ohio. He told me that after years of not being intimate with anyone, he finally started exploring again, mostly in private. At first it felt good, but then he noticed irritation, redness, sometimes even a dull ache the next day. He didn't think it was connected at first, thought maybe it was his age or just dry skin. But when we talked, I asked him how exactly he was doing it, and he laughed and said, "Same way I did when I was 20. That was the moment it clicked. Once he tried being more gentle and using a little water-based lubricant, things got a lot better. Less soreness, more comfort, and a little more joy in the whole thing. One of the simplest things that can help is switching to a light, water-based lubricant and thinking of your touch more like you're handling something delicate. Your body's still yours, still strong, but it deserves a softer kind of care now. You don't need to change everything overnight. But the way you treat yourself, especially when no one's looking, sends a message. You're still here, you still matter. And you still deserve kindness, even from your own hands. The second thing I often talk about is something many men just don't connect with: self-pleasure, and that's heart health. You might not think of masturbation as physical exertion, but your heart does. The excitement, the breathing changes, the build-up to orgasm, it all affects blood pressure, circulation, and how your heart responds. And if you've had any heart trouble or high blood pressure, ignoring this can lead to discomfort, dizziness, or worse. You're not doing anything wrong. It just means your body needs a bit more attention now. I once spoke with a retired school principal named George. He was 72, living outside St. Louis. He had a mild heart attack a few years back and had been really careful ever since about walking, lifting, anything that raised his heart rate. But he quietly admitted that he still had desire, and sometimes when he did take time to be intimate with himself, he'd feel a little flushed or lightheaded after. It worried him, so he started avoiding it. We had a long talk and I explained that it's okay to want pleasure, and it's smart to ask how to do it safely. I helped him talk with his cardiologist, and they figured out a few medications. Might be part of the issue. They adjusted them, and now George feels more confident, not just sexually, but like he's taken back a bit of control over his body. One thing that often helps is simply having a conversation with your doctor. You can say something like, "I've been feeling changes in energy during intimacy and want to check what's safe for me now." That one small step can open up real peace of mind. Your heart's been through a lot, that it still beats strong. Is something to honor, not fear. You're not fragile, you're experienced. There's strength in knowing your limits, and even more in working with them. Now here's something that gets overlooked all the time, the mental side of it. A lot of older men tell me they feel kind of empty, or even a little sad afterward. Like something's missing. And often it's not about the act itself, but how rushed or disconnected it feels. When you treat masturbation like a quick task, your mind doesn't get the chance to slow down and connect with your body. Over time, that can build a sense of guilt, loneliness, or just feeling off, even when everything physically is working fine. I had a conversation with Ray, 65, a widower living outside Sacramento. He hadn't been with anyone since his wife passed, and he wasn't really looking for a relationship, but he still had needs, still missed touch. He started exploring again, but told me it felt like just a thing I do when I can't sleep. It left him feeling more alone. So I asked what would happen if he treated it more like a ritual, not a task. He tried lighting a candle, playing soft music, taking a warm shower first, and little by little it shifted. He started seeing it as time for himself, not just release, but care. He even said it helped him grieve in a way he didn't expect. 1. Of the easiest ways to shift the experience is to slow down. Try setting a little time aside, making the space quiet, turning off harsh lights. Let it feel like something special. Not secret, not shameful, just personal. Your body isn't a machine, and it's a part of your story. You deserve moments of calm and comfort that are truly yours. Even small acts of tenderness can start to heal places you didn't know were waiting. Another thing I often see is men feeling frustrated because their body doesn't react the way it used to. Erections might take longer, might not be as firm, or maybe they come and go. Some tell me they can't finish the way they used to, or the sensation feels different. And I always say, that's not failure, that's change. As testosterone. Levels shift with age. Nerves respond slower, blood flow changes, and arousal may come from different places. It doesn't mean anything's broken. It just means it's time to listen in a new way. There was a man named Bill, 70 years old, living near Tulsa. He told me he stopped masturbating because it felt pointless. He'd try, but he wouldn't get fully aroused or wouldn't finish, and then he'd feel embarrassed even though he was alone. He kept comparing himself to how he was in his 30s. So we had a conversation. I reminded him that his body is still capable. It just needs more patience and more variety now. I suggested trying to enjoy the whole process instead of chasing the finish line. A few weeks later, he called and said he felt young again, not because his body was the same, but because he finally stopped judging it. That shift made all the difference. What often helps is slowing down and using more of your imagination, memories, fantasies, even soft touch in other areas like the chest, thighs, neck. The goal isn't performance, it's connection. There's no right way to experience pleasure. You can't do it wrong. You can only do it in a way that feels good for who you are today, not who you used to be. And that's more than enough. Here's something I talk about a lot, especially with men who grew up in homes where touch, especially self-touch, was never discussed. There's a deep sense of shame that can follow someone into their 60s, 70s, even 80s. Some men tell me they still hear that inner voice saying, "This is wrong," or "You're too old for this." That shame can lead to isolation, not just from others, but from their own body. And over time, that distance becomes heavy, not because something is wrong with desire, but because no one ever told them it's okay to have it. Even now, I remember a man named Ed. He was 75, a retired mechanic from Indiana. Grew up in a strict religious family where anything sexual was off limits. He told me he never once had a real conversation about this, not with his parents, not with his wife, not even with friends. After his wife passed, he felt totally lost. He had urges, sure, but every time he acted on them, he felt guilt for days. It wasn't until he opened up to a friend at church, someone his age, that he realized he wasn't alone. That friend had been through the same thing, and just hearing those words, "me too," lifted something off his shoulders. Later, Ed spoke with a counselor and started letting go of that old shame, piece by piece. Something I often suggest is talking to someone you trust, a friend, a therapist, even a support group, not for advice, just to say it out loud. Shame grows in silence, but it softens in honesty. You've carried a lot through life, more than most people know. You deserve to feel safe in your own skin, not judged, not afraid. And you don't have to walk this path alone anymore. If something in this conversation made you pause or brought up a memory, or even a small sense of relief, I want to invite you to share it in the comments. What stood out to you? What felt true? And if something's still unclear, go ahead and ask. There's no shame here. Hit subscribe if you'd like more gentle, honest talks like this. And tap the bell to stay connected. You're not alone. You're stronger than you think. And life still holds you, if you let it.